Hi, y'all. It's BG with Kornerstore Boys Podcast. I'm here with
Wendy.
And we're going to be talking about Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, highlighting that, and just highlighting Wendy as a person. Now, let's get into. I like to always start off with sports, mainly, and it's awesome, especially you being a Miami Heat fan. It's been a little interesting these past couple days.
Yeah,
What's interested you the most about the free agency in Miami, how the Heat have handled it?
I think that compared to other seasons, we have handled this free agency a lot better. I think we've actually made some smart pickups, but compared to a couple years back, it just seemed like they were going absolutely nowhere. And now it seems like we're getting some movement, some kind of change in the environment. And we're getting, I think, in the NBA as a whole has completely changed in the course of this free agency.
Yeah, it went from like a big three era to like only duos. It's more balanced. Me being a Lakers fan, I'm happy we got AD, but at the same time, I can relate to sucking a lot. Now, let's talk about also college football being a month away. I'm a Florida State fan. You went to FIU and you went to a lot of Miami games as well as FIU. What was the most, I would say, fun part about college and that experience?
I don't think college for me was like an experience in terms of sports, because FIU is not, in general, it's not a real big sports school, but I feel like being in Miami is like a sports city, so we're very into very into the Heat, very passionate about it. So that's where the whole fan thing comes from, and supporting and being a fan because it's your city.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, do you think Florida State loses to Miami again?
Yes, of course. I'm never going to say no to that.
All right. Now, let's start talking about a little more about Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, it being July, and ultimately what you do in your profession. Tell me what your major was and because you graduated from FIU. What did you major in?
So my major is psychology. I did it on a pre-med track though, because medicine is something I'm passionate about. So I always had the dream of eventually going on to med school and becoming a psychiatrist and pursuing that. But I did psychology I was there for 3 years because I did a fast track, and that's what I majored in. So basically what I do is that I work at a community mental health center. So here is basically it's a way to reach out to the community, get mental health at a limited lower cost than usual when you go to somewhere more expensive. So we offer therapy, they have social groups, we do regular psychiatry, you also have a case manager, which is what I am, which kind of guides you through the entire process, because starting mental health treatment can be kind of confusing, scary. You always need that one person on your team that's gonna be this is what we're gonna do, don't worry about it, it's fine, we're gonna take this course. If you're scared to say something to the therapist, the psychiatrist, you always need that one person that's gonna be don't worry, I got you.
Now, with it being, you said, cost effective, have you seen more of minorities coming through, or is it, since it's Miami, is it a mixture?
It's a lot of minorities. You get a lot of people that are homeless, people that just don't have the resources, a lot of people that are referred through the hospitals, through shelters. You get a lot of just people that don't really have high income. They're just there because they need the help. They just can't afford anywhere else. People with no insurance, because that's very common. So we're able to provide those people with mental health at a lower cost that's affordable.
Now, since you're a case manager now, do you want to stay in that role, or where do you want to progress to?
I think that eventually I've really enjoyed the aspect of the therapy portion of it. So a lot of times we cover groups for each other, social groups. So basically in social groups, everybody kind of talks about a certain topic, for example, anger management, whatever it may be, and we kind of just bounce ideas off each other, this is the way I handle it. We always cover a topic. That's the aspect I've enjoyed the most of the whole entire job, just being able to sit down with people who have these problems on a daily basis and seeing how they feel and how they react and how they cope with things and how they help others cope with things, and just that environment is what I like. So I want to take it there eventually.
Now, what is, I would say, the most special thing about your job right now, the thing that you take pride in the most?
I think it's just being able to see that transformation from when somebody comes in to when they're 2 or 3 months into treatment. It's a complete night and day. It's completely different. The person that you had that comes in that's lost, doesn't know what's going on, very confused about what's going on with them, just needs the help And then compared to 3 months, you're like, wow. Like, we had a totally case, different. Not obviously going to say any names.
Yeah,
but,
I can't.
But we had a case that she came in, and she had recently lost her husband, her son. She had a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. So she recently lost her job too. She ended up finding herself on the street, homeless. Mm-hmm. And she came in just knowing that she needed help. She was like, I've never had any kind of mental health before, like problems before, but now I do, and I just need the help. So she went to the hospital, and they referred her to us. So she comes in, and like within less than 24 hours, I can tell you, more or less, we were able to like find her a job, mm-hmm. find her somewhere where she could go and sleep and stay and be safe. So hook her up with like different resources, which is what I do. So we'll find her like, okay, here's your PCP that you can go to. Here's like your primary care doctor. Mm-hmm. Here's like, if you need this kind of help, you can go here. If you need something like a food bank because you can't afford mm-hmm. to pay for food, here's like somewhere you can go. So we were able to like redirect her completely. Mm-hmm. Now she's doing great.
Now, can you ever see yourself possibly opening up your own facility one day?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think everybody's goal in life is to eventually work for themselves and kind of run their own thing and do their own ideas. So you always, like, the way it works is that you work for somebody and then you see kind of more or less what they do and what you would improve if you had your own place, mm-hmm. and then you use that to build your own thing, which is eventually the...
Now, I know that this may be a random question, but do you guys use service animals at all to help with the people cope?
We actually had one of the patients, she ended up getting Baker acted, right? Mm-hmm. So she actually had her dog, but she had no one to take care of this dog. So when she gets Baker acted, somebody takes the dog because we're all huge dog fans and stuff like that, and we're all very like into animals. So somebody was like, no, we're not taking this dog to the shelter. So one of us took the dog, and that ended up becoming like the emotional support dog. Minorities, especially Hispanic culture, is not a culture that's, not that they're not welcoming to mental health, but it's not something anybody talks about. So regardless of how good of a parent you have the most supportive parents. When it comes to mental health, it's a little bit of stigma, kind of parents kind of like, oh, you're depressed? You just need to get out of bed, and it's like, that's not the way it works, Yeah, exactly. So that's where a lot of my like kind of passion for mental health began. During an era that I found myself in a very low place, and I just, regardless of the fact that I had very supportive parents, I didn't feel like I could go ahead and...
You had that extra...
Yeah, I needed someone extra. I needed extra support. I wanted something more than what my parents were able to offer, because it's just that's not something that's talked about, regardless of the fact that my father was a doctor. Mm-hmm. His knowledge of psychology is like very, Yeah. So it was never something that was talked about. So when I found myself in that place, I was like, wow, I really need someone to talk to. Like, this is something I enjoy. Like, this is something I would want to help. Eventually, when I got myself out of that place, I'm like, I want to help other people be able to get themselves out of this place, because it's very dark to be in that low. So eventually, I did psychology. I decided to pursue psychology because I liked it. I wanted to help people. I like the clinical aspect of it. So that's where the psychology major comes in, and where I eventually start working at a clinical level of psychology.
And I mean, I can totally relate. Sometimes parents, everything they provide, especially me being African American, it's something that is still kind of new to minorities. With our generation, I feel like that's something that we may be able to help in, because we're a lot more aware. Is there anything that you could see, or what do you think our generation can do to change that stigma and help? I
think our generation is more well equipped with knowledge regarding mental health. I think that now we acknowledge the fact that people around us have mental health problems. People that for your entire life could be dealing with mental health problems, and we know that that's an issue that we're having. So I think people are now more considerate and more careful in the way that they treat others and stuff like that. And I feel like that, passing that on to other generations when we have children or whatnot, can raise an entire generation that's way better off than prior generations.
I think that, well, with everything like you said, the technology in the long run, I think our kids and generation after that will be ultimately something. It'll be like a complete 180 turnaround compared to, I think, our parents' generation. Minorities it won't be something that's not looked down upon, but we're more familiar with.
Yeah, I think that the older generation is more conservative when it comes to mental health. They just kind of brush things off because nobody wants to talk about the problems that they're having or the family issues that they're having or any trauma that they had because they're just like, it is what it is. Whereas those things need to be talked about. They need to be discussed because they eventually form you into the adult that you are. You look at adult patients and they have trauma from when they were children, things that were never addressed, things their parents might have not even noticed that were happening with them, but were happening with them. So I feel like now we're able to raise a generation that would be more welcoming and parents that are more welcoming to the idea that, okay, maybe my kid needs this extra help. Maybe I should take him to see somebody.
Now, let's talk about something that I always like to talk about every week is music. And since we're highlighting mental health, within the facility, do you guys use music to help patients cope at all?
We actually have the groups, and a lot of the groups, the social rehab groups, they like to play music in the background during the sessions. They just enjoy it. They think it's calming. They think it helps. Our psychiatrist tells people all the time, like, if you have a lot of running thoughts in your head, like bad thoughts, you can play music and sing. And like while you're singing, you're blocking out any kind of like negative thoughts you're having because you're focusing on singing. So our psychiatrist always tells us like all the time, like, music is a very good tool for mental health.
Now, if you could pick an artist, 3 artists that come to mind off the top, for you, who's helped you musically throughout your life? Who's helped you cope through tough moments? Or who do you enjoy listening to the most, like your happy music?
Well, in terms of who is like the most calming, I think, and the most like person that makes you feel good, I think it has to be between Frank Ocean and Kid Cudi. I think those two are very impactful with their music, and I think the lyrics have a lot of meaning. And I think that they're two people that you kind of relate to on a level because they themselves have been through some kind of mental health experience, especially Frank Ocean with this whole being gay. It's a lot of it's a lot. Today, it's a lot. I'm sure he went through a lot during that time. So when you listen to his music, you can kind of feel that in his music. Kid Cudi as well. Kid Cudi is known for having had these problems, and you can feel it in his music when you listen to his music. Especially, I'm not that many people enjoyed Kids See Ghost, but those 2 tracks, which Reborn and which is the other one? I can't remember the other song. But there's another song on there too. That those 2 songs, when you listen to them, it's just like you feel what he's feeling, and if you've ever been through a low point in your life like that, and you listen to that song, Reborn, for example, you feel what he feels. And
like he makes music. There's his Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying. He made like Swimming in the Light, and like that's a song I feel like is a happy song. Of course we follow each other on Twitter, so you already know how big of a Kid Cudi fan I am, and I'm always like posting tweets, blah blah blah. But Kid Cudi is a very, I would say, like you said, influential artist. A lot of his fans look to him for mental health, I would say like a safety blanket. That's when I was going through like my low points. That's who I reach out to, and going to see him live and like the energy, and he's such a genuine person too. It makes it like the music, I would say, that much better. Now, is there any, I would say, outside of like rapping, or is there any different, or not rapping, but like the soul, like that realm of music, like Kid Cudi and Frank Ocean? Is there maybe like any electronic music you listen to, any Spanish music you listen to, something that people may not know about that you could probably put them on to?
I like a lot of kind of like slow R&B songs and stuff like that, but like one band that I actually very much like is the XX. So they play like it's very slow, like very like classical music in the background, and they sing over it, and it's very calming and relaxing.
Actually sounds pretty
good. So that's kind of like the vibe I go to. Like when I'm at work, that's kind of like what I play in the background when I'm like doing stuff. Like work, just typing and stuff like that. That's what I play in the background because it's very calming. Now,
definitely, I mentioned about you making a playlist, and we'll repost that on the page. It's going to be songs she likes, songs she listens to. I've already added a couple of her playlists on Apple Music. It's fire. She actually has good taste in music. And we'll get that to you guys. And it's something that you guys will be able to listen to see where she's coming from musically. Now, is there anything to close out the interview that you want to promote or say to the listeners?
I don't really have anything to promote, actually.
All right.
So, you can promote my Twitter, but you're already going to do that.
All right, yeah, we'll be reposting her Twitter all that, and the interview will be coming soon.